Welcome back to Weekend AM. You may have been told that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but is that really true? And if so, what should you be eating to get your day off to a healthy start?
Well, here to tell us more is nutritional therapist Heather Leeson. Good morning and nice to see you again, Heather. We've a fine display of food. I don't see any sausages or rashers.
We were disgusted.
Maybe they're hidden. We'll look for those in a while. Is it the most important meal of the day?
Well, it is important. I mean, there's endless research showing how breakfast benefits you, or how eating breakfast benefits you, from lower weight, better blood sugar management, lower risk of diabetes, lower risk of heart disease, and also better brain function, so focusing better during the day. However, some new research from the British Medical Journal has come out saying that actually, in terms of weight loss, maybe not as good as we think. And actually, the research now is showing that it's not necessarily eating breakfast that is the most important, but people who eat breakfast tend to have better habits overall. And of course, if you're eating breakfast, you've got a great opportunity to, for example, get more fibre into your diet, which is going to benefit your heart health, your gut health, etc. So I think it is really important to eat breakfast, to have a good breakfast at some point in the morning.
I like the way you say at some point, because I would imagine that breakfast time is quite a disruptive time for a lot of people. Running out the door to work, other priorities, maybe going to the gym, getting small children ready for school, and it just, falls out of your mind to grab something, and then you're grabbing something on the go.
Yeah, so, and that can be tricky because some of the choices on the go are not always the best. Now, a couple of things there. So for breakfast, for some groups are really important. You mentioned kids, and we know from endless research that having a breakfast in the morning is really helpful for kids in terms of brain function, school performance, concentration, etc. So that is important. Also for people who are very active, so athletes, but also farmers, other people who are working physically during the day, having breakfast is important.
And for that reason, it's because it builds up, I suppose, their energy levels, and therefore we should all probably benefit from that if it's there.
Exactly. Now, if I'm talking about this, for example, in a company, I will always have someone asking me about intermittent fasting.
Yes, I'm fascinated by this. It's essentially not eating for a long period of time, is that right?
That is right. Now, there's various ways to do it, but I think the easiest way to do it is take a gap overnight. So you have your meal at whatever time, and then you don't eat for 12 or 14 hours. Some people will fast longer, but I think the research is still building, but 12 to 14 seems to be the optimal to get the best results.
And what are the benefits of it?
Oh, endless, according to the research, from weight loss to better blood sugar management, actually similar to eating breakfast, better brain function, decreased risk of even Alzheimer's, actually, and cardiovascular disease. So there seems to be a lot of benefits to it, and it kind of makes sense. You want to give your system a break, and often the food that we're eating later at night it's not the best choice always. You know, the things you're going to pick at 9 o'clock at night are not necessarily going to be part of a healthy
You're not
day.
eating granola at 9
no,
at night,
for
possibly.
example. So for, I think, a lot of people, actually, that 12-hour break, totally manageable. So if you have your dinner at 7 o'clock, having breakfast at 7 or even 9 o'clock, that's totally manageable.
Okay, so
totally
it's not
manageable.
Intermittent fasting, getting up in the morning and not eating till 6 or 7 in the evening.
No.
It's doing it when you're, for the large part of you being
12
asleep.
to 14 hours, and I suppose part of that, which is also good for your health, is having an earlier dinner. So often people who say to me, oh, I'm not hungry in the morning, it's because they're eating quite late at night. And that is not ideal for lots of different reasons.
Okay.
So just shifting things around
I'd fall into
really
that category.
helpful.
I don't usually like to eat breakfast because I just don't feel the need for a big meal, whereas my husband will sit down and with the scrambled eggs, and he takes his time, and he plans. And speaking of preparation, I suppose that is key when you're in a rush in the morning. You have some great options here. What should we be doing if we're going to have a healthy breakfast?
So getting prepared in advance is really key, and there's the magic formula for breakfast is eating complex, slow-release carbs like oats or whole grain cereal, whole grain bread, together with protein. And that's eggs, yogurt, nuts, seeds, for example. So the carbs will give you energy for your body and for your brain, actually, and then the protein just keeps you going for longer. That keeps you going till your next meal. Now, carbs, it's funny, a lot of the breakfast choices that you will grab as you're running around are not necessarily very good. So a couple of examples here. Things like the breakfast bars, the yogurt, pre-prepared yogurt pots with granola, they're often full of sugar.
Well, I just finished.
Probably, probably. And that's kind of that halo marketing effect where you're thinking yogurt is healthy, cereal is healthy. It might be called natural, it might be called whole grain, but it might have loads and loads and loads of sugar in it. So just look at the label. If sugar's in the first few ingredients, avoid it. And I've got some examples here, even that look healthy. Granola is a perfect example. What makes granola nice and sweet and crunchy is the sugar and the fat, so small portion. The other thing worth mentioning is fruit juice. You're always better eating a piece of fruit instead of having juice, because fruit juice, typically, so a little bottle like this or a glass, juice or smoothie will have about 7 teaspoons of sugar. Now, it's not added, but it's what we call free sugar. So it hits your bloodstream very, very quickly, like added sugar. You're always better to eat your fruit rather than drink it.
And people may feel they're getting the benefit of that sugar hit, so they're alert, but then you'll get a crash.
You'll get a crash, exactly. But in terms of what you could eat instead, so you can have fruit. There are low sugar granolas. There's a couple of brands that will be marketed as low sugar. They're good. Even a whole grain cereal like Weetabix or shredded wheat. There's nothing in that really but the whole grain cereal. In terms of running out the door, some people will just grab toast and marmalade. There's no protein there. So if you even had whole grain toast like this one with, say, peanut butter, almond butter and a little bit of banana, that's giving you a much more balanced
That's really
breakfast.
that's delicious, actually.
You're really good in terms of your diet. You watch what you eat a lot. And you are a fan of a healthy breakfast, aren't you?
Well, we spoke before off air about the breakfast I do consume most mornings, because I travel a distance in the morning in the car and I'm on the run. So I make a smoothie which has 5 scoops of oats, a banana, a scoop of protein, a scoop of almond butter, and then I was putting in 3 eggs, and then I blend it and I drink it, and that's not to everyone's taste. But you told me to cut back on the eggs.
Yep.
Yeah, and I have.
Yep.
To 2.
And why did you tell him to cut back? Because
it's a lot of
very
raw
popular.
eggs, and I mean he's got some protein in there with the protein powder. It's good to mix it up.
Sure.
You know, some days maybe use yogurt instead, a protein powder. Have nuts and seeds, have different forms of protein.
And you mentioned veg as well.
Really important. So in your smoothie, this one here is a berry smoothie. So it has berries in it, it has yogurt, but it also has a little bit of banana, frozen courgette, and it has cucumber in it. So you're getting veg as well as fruit, and you cannot taste it. Frozen courgette is brilliant to add into smoothies. And you've got the protein from the yogurt. So just balancing it out for a smoothie. And instead of always having the same thing, there's really easy stuff you can prepare the night before in 5 minutes. Something like natural yogurt, a few berries and a bit of granola on top. So a healthy granola. There's recipes on our website, but the trick with granola is portion, so it's 1 or 2 tablespoons, not a big bowl of granola. So 1 or 2 tablespoons.
To summarise, Heather, you think that if we are inclined to eat our breakfast, preparation, planning, and it's probably a good idea to give us energy.
It is a good idea.
Obviously, children, athletes, you mentioned, people like Aidan who've got a long journey to and from work. But for the rest of us, should we think about it?
We should be eating a good, healthy breakfast. Obviously, if you're going to have a double chocolate muffin, maybe breakfast isn't so good for you. But if you have time to get a proper breakfast into you, yes, it's going to help you. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Heather, thank you very much. And glenvillannutrition.ie, and we'll find some of these lovely recipes there.
Yeah, you will indeed.
All right, so you can't buy them anymore, you've got to make them.
Damn it. Thanks a million.
Thanks,
My pleasure.
OK, after the break, we are hitting the catwalk. We're predicting this summer's top colour trends next. See you in a few.